What happens when one of the greatest automotive engineers decided that 100 years of hypercar design has been built on a flawed assumption? A man who had already built some of the fastest cars on the planet, looked at every Ferrari, every Bugatti, every Lamborghini, and decided to remove something every single one of them has. Something so crucial that people won't even know how to build a car without it. But the CEO, Christian von Koenigsegg, not only removed it, he made sure that the car ran faster than any car in history. This is the story of Koenigsegg Regera, the fastest accelerating production car ever built. If you are into cars, subscribe now so you don't miss out on videos like this. Now let's get on to it. Christian von Koenigsegg was 22 years old when he decided to build the greatest sports car in the world. He had no factory, no engineering team, no financial backing. His previous business was trading goods like frozen chicken and misprinted plastic bags across Eastern Europe after the Soviet Union collapsed. He made enough money to pour it all into a car company. His father didn't know at the time, but he would eventually invest his entire life savings, around $2 million, into his son's idea. That was 1994. The company's first street legal car didn't arrive until 2002. 8 years of building, testing, and failing before a single customer took delivery. They operated out of a converted Swedish Air Force base in Ängelholm, a town of 40,000 people. What followed was 2 decades of building some of the fastest cars ever made. The CCX, the Regera, the Regera RS, which in 2017 set the production car top speed record at 447 km per hour on a closed public road in Nevada. Each car pushing further than the last. Each one built almost entirely in-house. Engines, transmission, carbon fiber software, everything. Then in 2013, Christian bought a Tesla Model S, and something about that car changed everything. The instant torque, the uninterrupted acceleration, no gear changes, no hesitation, just continuous force from the moment you press the pedal. He drove home immediately and began designing his own electric motor. Regera means to reign in Swedish. Koenigsegg named it deliberately. Every car Koenigsegg has built before the Regera was built around one idea. Strip everything out, make it as light as possible and as extreme as possible. Uncomfortable, uncompromising, and absolutely devastating on a road or a circuit. The Regera was built around a completely different question. What if you could have all the performance but in something you could actually live with? A grand tourer. Leather everywhere, climate control, navigation, Wi-Fi, everything. A car that could cross a continent in silence and casually destroy supercars on the side. 85 were ever built between 2016 and 2022. All of them sold before most people knew the car even existed. Price at launch was $1.89 million. Fully optioned, closer to $2 million. Every panel that moves in this car, the doors, the roof, the engine cover, the front, opens and closes on electric actuators. All of it controllable from a smartphone before you even walk up to a car. Koenigsegg called it the first fully robotized car ever built. The doors swing out and upwards via the signature dihedral synchro helix mechanism, the same way every Koenigsegg has opened since the beginning. But none of it is what makes the Regera remarkable. What makes it remarkable is what is under that engine cover. To understand what makes the Regera special, you need to understand one thing about every high-performance car ever built. Power is useless if you cannot deliver it to the wheels. A Ferrari 488 makes 660 horsepower. A Bugatti Chiron makes 1500. A Lamborghini Huracan makes 640. All of them, no matter how much power they produce, lose a significant portion of it before it even reaches the road. An engine produces different amounts of torque at different RPM. Torque at 600 RPM is completely different from torque at 5000. The gearbox sits between the engine and the wheels, balancing that relationship across every speed, which is why a gearbox is not replaceable, right? Even automatic cars have gearboxes. An engine cannot just generate all the torque instantly to turn the wheel. So then why are we talking about it? Because gearboxes eats up power. First gear, second gear, third. Every time a gear shifts, it loses energy in the form of heat and friction. On a traditional high-performance car, the drivetrain loses between 15 and 25% of everything the engine produces. Christian von Koenigsegg looked at it and decided it was unacceptable. The solution he came up with was to connect the V8 directly to the rear axle through a single fixed ratio. No gearbox, no gear change, no energy lost between shifts. At high speeds, that connection locks completely and the engine drives the wheel directly, cutting drivetrain losses by over 50% compared to any conventional transmission. But a combustion engine through a single fixed ratio cannot move a car from standstill. It simply does not produce enough torque at low RPM to do that. So he added 3 electric motors, 2 on the rear axle, 1 on the crankshaft, producing producing a combined 700 horsepower. At low speed, they handle everything. As speed builds up, a hydraulic coupling called the hydrocoque progressively brings the V8 in until it locks completely at around 80 km per hour and drives the axle directly all the way up to 400 km per hour. Now you might be thinking it sounds awfully like a hybrid. That's because it is. Is there a difference other than the Regera's motor generating way more power? For normal people who don't want to nerd out about it, the simple answer is no, there is no difference. If you crank up the motors in any hybrid and connect it directly to control the wheels, you can pull out the gearboxes too. The reason why Koenigsegg is different because their motors does not produce 700 horsepower. Because their cars don't cost upwards of $1 million, their motors are not generating enough power to turn the wheels on their own. That's why a hybrid still needs a gearbox. Then comes the next question. If the electric motors drive the wheel at low speed, how is that different from a pure electric car? And again, the answer is not much. The electric motors do exactly what a Tesla or a Rimac does from a standstill. The difference arrives at very high speed. Pure electric car loses efficiency and power significantly beyond 250 to 300 km per hour. The Rimac Regera has 1914 horsepower, 400 more than the Regera, and is devastating from 0 to 200 km per hour. Beyond that, the Regera's V8 locked directly to the axle takes over, and a combustion engine driving the wheels directly at those speeds is simply more powerful and more efficient than an electric motor alone. This is why the Regera took the 0 to 400 to 0 world record from the Nevera, despite having significantly less horsepower on paper. Christian von Koenigsegg did not reinvent the wheel. He took inspiration from his Tesla and combined his own engineering mind to make his incredible piece of art that only 85 people in the world will get to enjoy. 1500 horsepower, 2000 Newton meters of torque. On paper, those numbers are extraordinary, but the numbers on a paper mean nothing if the car cannot deliver them the way they are supposed to. 0 to 100 km per hour in 2.7 seconds, 0 to 200 in 6.6 seconds. Impressive, but the Rimac Nevera does 0 to 100 in 2 seconds. The Bugatti Chiron is in the same conversation on the sprint. On those numbers alone, the Regera is fast but not untouchable. However, this is where things get interesting. 150 to 250 km per hour, 3.2 seconds. At those speeds, every other hypercar is fighting drag, fighting transmission, fighting physics. The Regera is completely uninterrupted. The V8 locked directly to the axle, nothing in between, just continuous force. No car in production has matched that number. Top speed is 400 km per hour. The fixed ratio is geared precisely to that number. The engine hits its rev limit at exactly 400. The engine is 5-liter twin-turbo V8, designed and built entirely in-house by Koenigsegg. It produces 1100 horsepower and 1000 Nm of torque on its own. 3 electric motors add another 700 horsepower and 1000 Nm of torque on top of that. Combined 1500 horsepower and 2000 Nm of torque going to the rear wheel. The car weighs 1628 kg. For a hybrid producing 1500 horsepower with a full luxury interior, a carbon fiber body, and a robotized everything, that is a remarkable number. The power to weight ratio works out to 921 horsepower per ton. A Bugatti Chiron, for comparison, produces 1500 horsepower from a heavier car and achieves 626 horsepower per ton. A Lamborghini Huracan STO achieves 548. The torque figure of 2000 Nm is what makes the acceleration feel the way it does. For context, a Ferrari 488 produces 760 Nm, a Bugatti Chiron produces 1600, the Regera produces 2000, delivered without interruption, without a gear change, cutting it at any point. From the moment the acceleration hits the floor to the moment it lifts off at 400 km per hour. The Regera was never meant to look aggressive. It's not one of those angular sharp-line cars where edges that can cut glass, but it does not need to be. Long, low, and wide. A drag coefficient of 0.32, lower than most supercar. The roofline flows from the front windscreen all the way to the rear without a single sharp break. No wings jutting out. No vents screaming for attention. Clean surfaces, smooth transitions, every line serving a purpose. The entire body is hand-laid carbon fiber, every panel. Koenigsegg does not outsource this. Every sheet is laid by hand, inspected, and finished to the same standard across all 80 cars. Active aerodynamics manage everything automatically. The rear wings deploy under load. The front flaps adjust with speed. The ride height adjusts per wheel independently based on road conditions. The doors open via Koenigsegg dihedral synchro helix mechanism, outwards and upwards simultaneously in a single motion. Their signature on every car they have ever built. On the Regera, every panel that opens does so on electric actuator. Doors, front bonnet, engine covers, all of it is controllable remotely from a smartphone before you even reach the car. Koenigsegg calls it the first fully robotized production car ever built. Inside, the design philosophy is much simpler. Make it feel like a luxury car. Quilted leather on almost every surface, Alcantara on the headlining, machined aluminum throughout. 8-way electrical adjustable seats, climate control, Apple CarPlay, ambient lighting, a 9-inch infotainment system developed entirely in-house. The center console is carved from carbon fiber with every weave perfectly aligned. Even the buttons have nano perforations so they illuminate without looking cheap. The exhaust is titanium fishtail, a shape absent from production cars for over 50 years before Koenigsegg brought it back on the Regera. The turbocharger housing is 3D printed, allowing Koenigsegg to achieve internal geometrics physically impossible to produce in any other way. Only 85 Regera were ever made. Its production ended in 2022, and before the last car left the factory, it was already sold out. Each one of those 85 Regera was hand-built and assembled inside their own factory, making them unique in some way. The car set a world record for the fastest time to go from 0 to 400 and back to 0 in just 28.81 seconds. It's just insane. Unfortunately, the record only stood for less than a year. In 2024, the Koenigsegg Jesko Absolute went on to the same airfield and ran 27.83 seconds. Koenigsegg took the record from itself with its own next car. Then in August 2025, the Jesko Absolute went back again and did 25.21 seconds. The record that the Regera set 2 years earlier now sits third on the all-time list. Both cars above it are Koenigsegg. Kristen drove a Tesla Model S in 2013 and came home with an idea, the KDD, connecting a combustion engine directly to the axle the way an electric motor does, using motors powerful enough to make a gearbox unnecessary. It had never been done before. Every car that Koenigsegg has ever built carries that thinking forward. The Jesko that eventually took the Regera's record time runs a 9-speed transmission because at that level of performance and that level of top speed, a single fixed ratio reaches its limit. But the philosophy of eliminating inefficiency, of questioning every assumption that the automotive engineering had accepted as permanent, that came from the Regera. 85 people own this car, each one hand-built in a town most of the world has never heard of, by a company with fewer employees than most office buildings. The Regera proved that the size of a manufacturer and size of their ambition has nothing to do with each other. It is sold out. It will never be made again, and a record it set already had been broken by the same company with the next car. But what Christian von Koenigsegg proved with the Regera goes beyond any record. He proved that questioning a century-old assumption and having the engineering capability to back that question up produces something the entire industry could not. So what do you think? Is the Regera the greatest hypercar ever built, or does the Jesko Absolute already hold the title? Let me know in the comment. And if you want to watch the video about that car, subscribe. Europe thinks you might like this video popping up on your screen right now. I'm sure you will like it as well. See you in the next one.